Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Today, we're building a complete blueprint for understanding the world of business from the ground up.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've structured this journey into 4 clear parts to give you a comprehensive overview. First up, we'll cover the economic landscape. Then we'll get into the blueprint for a business. After that, we'll talk about managing the human engine. And finally, we'll zoom out and look at business on the world stage.
First, we need to understand the environment every business operates in. Before you can build a house, you have to know the terrain, the weather, the local laws. Think of this as the climate and the laws of physics for the business world. These are the fundamental forces that shape every single decision.
So what's really interesting is how simple the core idea is. It all starts with one fundamental question.
At its absolute heart, a business is just any organization trying to earn a profit by selling stuff, whether that's goods or services that people need or want. That's it. Whether it's a giant tech company or the food truck down the street, that's the fundamental goal. And this whole effort leads to one of 2 critical outcomes. It's the ultimate scoreboard for success or failure. On one side, you've got profit. That's the lifeblood, the engine for growth that lets a company invest and expand. On the other hand, you've got a loss. And a loss is a huge warning sign. It's the market telling you that what you're doing isn't sustainable.
So who decides what businesses should sell? Well, in a free enterprise system, there isn't some central planner making all the calls. The direction comes from what the famous economist Adam Smith called an invisible hand. Every time you decide to buy one coffee over another, you're basically casting a vote. All those choices, together, send signals to businesses about what they should be making.
And that invisible hand works through this constant dance between supply and demand. Think of it like a scale. On one side, you have all the products that sellers are willing to offer. On the other, you have all the buyers who want those products. The market is always trying to find that perfect balance point, the equilibrium price, where both sides meet and agree.
All right, so now that we've got the lay of the land, let's start drawing up the plans for an actual business. This section is all about creating that blueprint for success. Now, you might hear small business owner and entrepreneur used interchangeably, but there's a really important distinction. It all comes down to their primary goal. A small business owner is often focused on running a great, stable, profitable business, but an entrepreneur, they're usually obsessed with growth and scale. They see an unmet need and want to build an empire to fill it, kind of like how Sam Walton started with one store and envisioned Walmart.
Choosing a legal structure is one of the very first and most critical decisions you'll make. Are you a sole proprietor? That's the simplest form, but you have unlimited personal liability, meaning your own house could be on the line. Or do you go for a partnership? You get to share the risk and the workload, but you're also on the hook for your partner's decisions. And then there's the corporation, which is a whole different ballgame.
So here's the magic trick of a corporation. The law literally treats it as a separate legal person. It can own property, it can sign contracts, it can even be sued, and, this is the crucial part, it's all separate from its owners. That legal shield is what provides limited liability, and it's what makes it possible for corporations to raise huge amounts of money and grow.
But regardless of the legal structure, you absolutely need a plan. A good business plan isn't just a document you write once and file away. It's your roadmap. It communicates 3 critical things to investors and to yourself. 1. What are your goals? 2. What's your sales forecast? How much do you realistically think you can sell? And 3. The financial plan. How are you going to get the money and how are you going to spend it to make all this happen?
Okay, blueprint's in place. Now we need to look at what makes the whole thing run, the people. This is the engine room of the business. So what does a manager actually do? Well, it's not just one thing. It's really a continuous 4-step process. First, they do the planning, figuring out the goals. Then comes organizing, arranging all the resources and activities to make the plan happen. Next, and this is a big one, is leading, inspiring and motivating people to work together. And finally, there's controlling, checking in, evaluating how things are going, and making adjustments. Then the cycle starts all over again. And all of this management happens within a company's unique atmosphere, what we call its corporate culture. You can think of it as the company's personality. It's the collection of shared values, the traditions, the unwritten rules that guide how everyone behaves. Is it a creative and collaborative place, or is it more formal and rigid? That's the culture.
And believe me, culture can be a powerful force for good or for total disaster. Take these 2 examples. Google's creative culture is famous for attracting the best talent in the world. And then there was Enron. Their rank and yank system where they fired the bottom 10% of employees every single year, created a toxic, high-pressure environment that directly encouraged the unethical behavior that eventually destroyed the company.
So whose job is it to build and protect that culture? That's where human resources comes in. Their work really revolves around 3 key phases of an employee's journey. First, acquiring talent, which is all about recruiting and hiring. Then, maintaining them by managing pay, benefits, and employee relations. And finally, developing them through training and performance reviews so they can grow.
Okay, for our final section, let's zoom all the way back out. Let's place our business on the world stage and see how it fits into the global picture.
So why do countries even trade with each other? Well, it often comes down to 2 kinds of advantage. First, there's absolute advantage. This one's pretty simple. It just means you're flat out better at producing something. Saudi Arabia and oil is the classic example. The other is comparative advantage. This one is more subtle. It means you can produce something at a lower opportunity cost. Basically, China focuses on manufacturing because doing so is the most efficient use of its resources compared to anything else it could be doing.
And this web of interconnectedness, of businesses expanding across borders, that is a name we all know: globalization. It's this whole process of the world getting flatter, as they say, where it's easier than ever for goods, money, and ideas to move between countries. But operating globally brings up some really big questions. Does a company's responsibility end with making a profit for its owners? That's where the idea of social responsibility comes in. It's the concept that a business has a duty to act in a way that benefits all of its stakeholders, not just shareholders, but also its employees, the communities it operates in, and the environment.
And with ethics and social responsibility failed, the consequences can be absolutely catastrophic. Just look at the collapse of Enron again. This timeline is stunning. In August 2000, the stock is peaking at around $90 a share. They're praised everywhere. Just over a year later, after their dodgy accounting gets exposed, they file for bankruptcy. By January 2002, the stock is worth less than $1. Thousands of people lost their jobs and their life savings. It's a chilling reminder of what's at stake.
And that really brings us to the crucial takeaway. Understanding the mechanics of business is one thing, but understanding its role and power in the world is another. This leaves us with a final, massive question for today's landscape. As businesses grow more and more powerful, is their biggest responsibility to their shareholders, or is it to all of us?